The stars blurred past the viewing screen as 12 warships tore through space at speeds that would have killed most species. Inside the lead vessel, Commander Taurix gripped the edge of his command station so hard his claws left marks in the metal. His scales, normally a deep crimson, had darkened to almost black with rage. Distance to the human world. His voice came out as a growl that made the younger crew members flinch. Navigator Shessa checked her instruments. 3 solar hours, Commander. We are now inside their claimed territory. Taurix felt fire building in his chest. The Sarthek were old, older than most civilizations that crawled between the stars. They had fought wars that lasted centuries. They had conquered worlds and built empires. But they had never, in all their long history, experienced anything like this. 6 lunar cycles ago, a colony transport carrying supplies and families had vanished. At first, they assumed pirates or raiders. Such things happened in the outer regions where law meant little. The military dispatched scouts. They found debris. They found the burned shell of the transport drifting in dead space. And they found something worse. Every adult aboard had died. The ship's life support had failed. The emergency systems had malfunctioned. It should have been a tomb for everyone inside. But the hatchlings, the precious young ones, were simply gone, vanished. Not dead, not aboard, just missing. Taurix had torn apart his quarters when he heard. His daughter Kyrth had been on that transport. His little flame, barely 3 seasons old, with scales that shimmered like copper in sunlight. She loved to chase the fiber lights in their dwelling. She would curl up against his side when the night cycles turned cold. And now she was gone. The Sarthek Empire had mobilized every resource. They tracked energy signatures. They followed radiation trails. They analyzed every piece of wreckage. And finally, after weeks of desperate searching, they found it. A faint distress beacon fragment that led them here, to this unremarkable yellow star system. To a world the inhabitants called Earth. To the humans. "Sir, we are detecting their defense network activating," Shessa reported. "Multiple satellite weapons platforms powering up." "Let them," Taurix said. "Charge our main batteries, all ships battle formation." The fleet shifted smoothly, each vessel taking its position. They had practiced this formation 1,000 times. The Sarthek did not make war poorly. They came prepared. They came overwhelming. They came with enough firepower to crack a planet's crust if needed. "Commander," his weapons officer spoke carefully, "if the young are on the surface, we risk harming them with orbital bombardment." Taurix felt the fire in his chest burn hotter, but he forced it down. "I am aware. Weapons are for show only unless I give direct command. But these humans will understand we are not here to negotiate pleasantly." Another officer approached. "Sir, we still do not understand why humans would take our young. They are not slavers. Our intelligence suggests they barely have faster-than-light travel. They have never shown aggression toward other species." "Then why?" Taurix slammed his fist down. "Why steal hatchlings? What purpose does it serve?" No one had an answer. The Sarthek had debated this question for weeks. Some thought the humans wanted to study them. Others believed they planned to raise them as soldiers or slaves. The darkest theories suggested experimentation or worse. Every possibility made Taurix's blood boil hotter. "We will have our answers soon," Shessa said quietly. She was his oldest friend, had served beside him for 20 years. She understood his pain. Her own nephew had been aboard that transport. The blue and green planet grew larger on the screen. Taurix could see swirling white clouds, vast oceans, brown and green landmasses. It looked peaceful, beautiful even. He hated it immediately. "Scan for Sarthek biosignatures," he ordered. The science station worked frantically. Minutes passed like hours. Taurix felt every second as an eternity. Then the officer looked up and there were tears in her eyes. "Commander, I have them. 14 distinct Sarthek life signs, all reading as juveniles, all alive." The bridge went silent. Alive. After 6 lunar cycles of not knowing, of fearing the worst, of preparing themselves for the possibility of finding only bodies, they were alive. Talrix felt something crack inside his chest. Relief hit him so hard he had to grip the station to stay standing. Where? Northern continent, mountain region. They appear to be grouped together in a single location. Weapon status. All batteries charged and ready, sir. Talrix straightened up. He pulled his emotions back under control with practiced discipline. Relief was good. It meant the hatchlings could be recovered, but it changed nothing about the situation. The humans had taken them, had kept them for 6 months. That could not stand. Open a channel to the human authorities, all frequencies. Static crackled, then cleared. A human voice responded in their language, though heavily accented. Sarthak Fleet, this is Earth Defense Coordination. We read your approach. Please state your intentions. Talrix leaned forward. I am Commander Talrix of the Sarthak Imperial Fleet. You have our children. Return them immediately, or we will take them by force. There was a long pause. Then the human voice came back, sounding confused. Your children, we don't understand. Please clarify. Do not play games, Talrix snarled. We have bioscans, 14 Sarthak juveniles on your surface. You took them from a destroyed colony transport. We want them back. Now. Another pause, longer this time. Talrix could hear voices arguing in the background. Finally, a different voice came through. Female, older, more controlled. Commander Talrix, this is Dr. Rebecca Cole. I think there has been a terrible misunderstanding. We did not take your children. We rescued them. Dr. Rebecca Cole stood in the communications center, her hands shaking slightly as she gripped the microphone. Behind her, a dozen human officers watched the tactical display showing 12 alien warships hanging in orbit like predators circling prey. You rescued them, the alien commander's voice dripped with suspicion. Explain. Rebecca took a breath. She had practiced this conversation in her head 100 times, but nothing prepared her for the reality. 6 months ago, one of our deep space exploration vessels detected a distress signal. They investigated and found a badly damaged ship drifting in dead space. The hull was breached. Life support was failing. When they went inside, they found the bodies of adult Sarthak and 14 terrified hatchlings barely clinging to life. Why did you not contact us immediately? We tried, Rebecca said firmly. We broadcast on every frequency we could find. We sent messages to every known Sarthak colony and outpost. We received no response. The hatchlings were dying. We had to make a choice. Leave them there to die or bring them to Earth and try to save them. Silence stretched across the channel. Rebecca could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. You are saying our young were abandoned. The commander's voice had changed. Still angry, but something else lurked beneath. Pain, perhaps, or shame. Not abandoned. The adults aboard died trying to protect them. We found evidence of some kind of attack. Pirates, maybe. Your people fought bravely. But in the end, the ship's systems failed. If our explorers had arrived even a day later, the hatchlings would have frozen to death. More silence. Then a different voice came through, female and sharp. You expect us to believe you saved them out of kindness. What do you want in return? Rebecca felt anger flash through her. We want nothing. We saved children because that is what decent beings do. Human, Sarthak, or any other species. Children are precious. We could not leave them to die. Show us, the commander said. Prove they are alive and unharmed, now. Rebecca nodded to the technician. I am transmitting visual feed from our sanctuary facility. You will see everything. The feed activated. On screens across the Sarthak flagship, images appeared. A large building nestled in mountains. Inside, a carefully controlled environment, heat lamps, warm rocks, sand pits, and in the center of it all, 14 small Sarthak hatchlings. Some were sleeping in carefully constructed nests. Others played with toys designed to stimulate their hunting instincts. One was being hand-fed by a human woman who spoke softly to it in broken Sarthak. Another was being examined by a doctor while a nurse held its small clawed hand. Rebecca watched the monitoring screen, seeing the feed from the sanctuary. She knew every corner of that building, every hatchling, every human caretaker who had dedicated themselves to keeping these children alive. "That is Kyrth," she said softly, highlighting one particular hatchling on the screen. "She is sleeping right now. When we found her, she was severely malnourished and had a respiratory infection. She nearly died in the first week, but she is strong. She fought through it." On the screen, little Kyrth slept curled in a heated nest. Her copper scales rose and fell with steady breathing. A human woman sat nearby, monitoring her vital signs on a tablet. The channel remained silent for a long moment. Then the commander spoke, his voice thick with emotion. "That is my daughter." Rebecca felt her throat tighten. "I know. We identified her from the ship's records. Commander Talrix, your daughter is healthy. She eats well. She plays. She is learning and growing. We have cared for her as if she were our own." "Why?" The question came out as barely a whisper. "Because she needed us," Rebecca said simply. "Because any parent, any species would do the same, wouldn't you?" She heard something that might have been a sob quickly cut off. When the commander spoke again, his voice was more controlled. "We need to see them, in person, immediately." "Of course," Rebecca said. "You are welcome here, all of you. But please, Commander, come peacefully. The hatchlings have been through enough trauma. They do not need to see weapons and soldiers storming through their home." "You dare dictate terms to us?" "I dare ask you to think of your children first," Rebecca replied. "You are parents, so are we. Let us act like it." Another long pause. Rebecca could imagine the debate happening on that flagship, the warriors wanting to attack, the parents wanting to rush down and hold their children. Finally, the commander spoke. "We will send a landing party, small, myself and 4 others, but make no mistake, Dr. Cole, our weapons remain armed. If this is a trick, if you have harmed our young in any way, we will turn your world to ash." "Understood," Rebecca said. "Transmitting landing coordinates now. We will be waiting." The channel closed. Rebecca sagged against the console, exhausted. Officer Lang approached, his face worried. "Do you think they believed you?" "I do not know," Rebecca admitted, "but we are about to find out." 2 hours later, Rebecca stood on the landing pad outside the sanctuary as a Sarthak shuttle descended through the clouds. It was sleek and dangerous looking, covered in armor plating and weapon ports. It landed with barely a sound, and the hatch opened. Commander Talrix stepped out first. He was enormous, easily 8 feet tall, with dark red scales and eyes that glowed like embers. His claws looked sharp enough to cut through steel. The other 4 Sarthak with him looked equally dangerous. Rebecca stepped forward, very aware of how small and fragile she looked compared to them. She carried no weapons. Her team behind her carried no weapons. She had insisted on that. They had to trust each other, or this would never work. "Commander Talrix," she said, "welcome to Earth. Your children are inside. Would you like to see them?" Talrix stared down at her. She could smell something sharp in the air, like heated metal. Fire, she realized. These beings could breathe fire. "If you have harmed them," he said slowly, "nothing will save you." Rebecca met his eyes without flinching. "If we wanted to harm them, they would already be dead. We have had 6 months. Instead, we have given them everything we could. Love, care, safety. Now come, see for yourself." She turned and walked toward the entrance. Behind her, she heard the heavy footsteps of the Sarthak following. Her heart hammered, but she kept her pace steady. The doors opened and warm air rushed out. Inside, someone was singing a lullaby in English while a hatchling chirped contentedly. Rebecca glanced back at Talrix. His expression had changed. The anger was still there, but confusion had joined it, and beneath both she saw something else. Hope. "This way," she said gently. "Let me show you what we have built." Talrix had prepared himself for many things: cages, laboratories, cold metal rooms where his people's young were kept like specimens. He had not prepared himself for this. The main habitat was enormous, taking up most of the building's central area. The temperature hit him first, perfectly calibrated to match Sarthek home world conditions. Warm rocks were arranged in clusters, creating basking spots. Sand pits allowed for digging and burrowing. Climbing structures reached toward the high ceiling, and everywhere, there were the hatchlings. "We converted an old research facility," Dr. Cole explained as she led them inside. "It took 3 weeks of around-the-clock work to get the environment right. Temperature, humidity, lighting spectrum. We made mistakes at first. The hatchlings got sick, but we learned." Shessa walked beside Talrix, her eyes wide. "This is more elaborate than most Sarthek nurseries." A small hatchling noticed them and chirped in alarm. Immediately, a human woman rushed over, scooping the little one up. "It is okay, little brass. It is okay. They are friends." The hatchling, barely 2 seasons old by Talrix's estimate, buried its face against the woman's shoulder. She stroked its scales gently, making soft, reassuring sounds. "That is Amy Foster," Dr. Cole said. "She works the day shift. The hatchlings trust her completely." Amy approached them carefully, still holding the frightened hatchling. "You must be their families," she said in badly accented Sarthek. "We have been waiting for you." Talrix found himself at a loss for words. The human was small, barely reaching his chest, fragile-looking, with soft skin and no natural weapons. Yet she held a Sarthek hatchling with complete confidence, and the young one clung to her as if she were its mother. "This is Brass," Amy said, switching back to her own language while Dr. Cole translated. "She was the most scared when we found them. Would not eat for days. I started sleeping beside her nest. Eventually, she started trusting me." "You slept beside her?" Shessa asked. Amy nodded. They were all so frightened. They had watched their parents die, been trapped in a dying ship. They needed to know someone cared, so we stayed with them. All of us took shifts. We did not want them to ever feel alone. Another human approached, an older man with gray hair. "Commander Talrix, I am Dr. Owen Park. I have been handling the medical care for your young. Would you like to see our records?" He handed over a tablet without waiting for an answer. Talrix took it with his claws, careful not to break the fragile device. On the screen were detailed medical charts, every hatchling listed, every illness documented, every treatment recorded. He read entries about Kyrth, respiratory infection, high fever, medication protocol, hourly monitoring, notes written by different humans across multiple shifts. Patient unresponsive to treatment A, switching to treatment B, must stay hopeful. Fever breaking. She took food for first time in 3 days. Small victory. Full recovery. She played today. Chased a light for 10 minutes. Beautiful to watch. "You wrote all this?" Talrix asked, his voice rough. Dr. Park nodded. "Every detail. We knew we were working with an unknown biology. We could not afford to miss anything. Your daughter was very sick, Commander, but she is very strong." "Where is she?" The question burst out before Talrix could stop it. Dr. Cole smiled. "Follow me." They walked through the habitat. Talrix saw everything with a warrior's eye for detail. The humans had thought of things he would never have considered. Soft nesting materials imported from off-world at obvious expense. Toys designed to encourage natural hunting behaviors. Even the lighting changed throughout the day to match Sarthek circadian rhythms. In the medical wing, a human in white clothing was examining a hatchling. The young one sat patiently while the human checked its eyes, its scales, listened to its chest. "Health inspections happen every 3 days," Dr. Cole explained. "We keep detailed growth charts, make sure everyone is developing properly." They passed a room where 3 hatchlings were eating. A human sat with each one, making sure they ate enough, occasionally helping the smaller ones cut their food. "Mealtimes are supervised," Amy said, still carrying little Brass. We learned early that they have a hierarchy. The bigger ones would take food from the smaller ones, so now everyone eats with a helper. Everyone gets enough. Talrix felt something shifting inside his chest. This was not imprisonment. This was not experimentation. This was care. Real, genuine care. They reached a quiet corner where sunlight streamed through specially designed windows. And there, sleeping in a nest of soft fabrics and warm stones, was Kyrth. His daughter, his little flame, alive. Talrix's legs nearly gave out. He moved forward without thinking, dropping to his knees beside the nest. Kyrth was bigger than he remembered. Her copper scales had darkened to a richer bronze. She looked healthy, well-fed, content. She usually wakes about now, Dr. Cole said softly. She likes to bask in the afternoon sun. As if hearing her words, Kyrth stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. She saw Talrix and froze. For a long moment they simply stared at each other. Then recognition flashed across her small face. "Papa," her voice was tiny, uncertain. "Yes," Talrix managed. "Yes, little flame, it is me." Kyrth scrambled out of the nest and launched herself at him. Talrix caught her, pulling her close, feeling her small heartbeat against his chest. She was warm and solid and real. His daughter, alive. But then Kyrth pulled back and looked around frantically. "Becca," she called out. "Becca." Dr. Cole stepped forward. "I am here, sweetling." To Talrix's shock, Kyrth reached for the human woman. Dr. Cole took her easily, and Kyrth wrapped her small arms around the human's neck. "She calls you Becca?" Shessa asked quietly. "They all have trouble with Rebecca," Dr. Cole said, stroking Kyrth's scales. "So I am Becca, and Amy is Mimi, and Dr. Park is Papa Park. They gave us all names they could pronounce." Kyrth looked between Talrix and Dr. Cole, clearly confused. Finally, she held out one small clawed hand to each of them. "Both?" she asked hopefully. Talrix felt his throat close up. His daughter, who should have known only Sarthek, who should have been raised in the traditional way, was asking if she could have both her father and this human who had saved her. Dr. Cole looked at Talrix with understanding in her eyes. "She does not have to choose," she said gently. "There is room for all of us in her life." Amy approached with little Brass, who had calmed down. "Commander, I know this is difficult, but you should know we love them, every single one. We have cried with them, celebrated with them, sat up all night when they were sick. They are not just charges to us. They are our children too." Talrix looked around the habitat, at the humans who had dedicated 6 months of their lives to keeping Sarthek young alive, at the careful environment built with obvious love, at his daughter, healthy and happy, clinging to both him and the human who had saved her. "I came here breathing fire," he said slowly, "ready to burn worlds for revenge." "And now?" Dr. Cole asked. Talrix pulled Kyrth close again, and this time she settled against him comfortably while still holding Dr. Cole's hand. "Now, I do not know what to think." Night fell over the sanctuary, and Talrix stood at the observation window watching the humans prepare the hatchlings for sleep. He had sent Shessa and the others back to the ship to report. He could not bring himself to leave. Not yet. Inside the habitat, Amy moved between the nests with practiced ease. She checked each hatchling's temperature, made sure they had water nearby, adjusted heating lamps. A young human male helped her, someone she called Lucas. "Time for bed, little ones," Amy said in Sarthek. Her accent was terrible, but the hatchlings understood. They chirped and grumbled but moved toward their nests. Lucas sat down beside one of the smaller hatchlings, a little male the humans called Spark. He pulled out a thin-bound object covered in pictures. A book Talrix recognized. Human young used them for learning. "Tonight, we read about the brave little engine," Lucas said, even though Spark could not understand the words. But the hatchling settled against Lucas's side, watching the pictures as the human made his voice rise and fall with the story. Dr. Cole appeared beside Talrix. He does that every night, different book but always a story. He says it does not matter if Spark understands. It is about the routine, the comfort. Why does he care so much? Talrix asked. Lucas, he is barely more than a hatchling himself. He is 23, Dr. Cole said. He was studying to be a teacher when we put out the call for volunteers. He said he had always wanted to work with children. The species did not matter to him. Below, Amy was singing now, a soft melody in her own language. The hatchlings were settling into their nests, eyes drooping. Little Brass, who had been so frightened earlier, was curled up in a nest right beside where Amy would sleep. You sleep beside them? Talrix asked. Someone always does, usually two of us on the night shift. We monitor their vitals, make sure no one gets sick, comfort them if they have bad dreams. Dr. Cole paused. They have nightmares sometimes, about the ship, about watching their parents die. When they wake up screaming, we hold them until they calm down. Talrix felt something crack deeper in his chest. We do not do that. The Sarthek way is different. We raise our young in group nurseries. They learn to be strong, independent. We do not coddle them. Is that strength, though? Dr. Cole asked gently. Or is that just fear of appearing weak? Before Talrix could answer, his communication device chirped. He activated it and the image of Elder Cassith appeared. She was old, her scales faded to pale pink, but her eyes were sharp. Commander Talrix, I have reviewed your initial report. Tell me true, how do our young fare? They are healthy, Elder, well cared for. The humans have built them a sanctuary beyond anything I imagined. Cassith was quiet for a moment. I must tell you something shameful. When the transport was attacked, we sent rescue ships. We tried to reach them, but we were too slow. By the time we arrived, there was nothing but debris. We scanned. We searched. We found no life signs, so we assumed all were lost. But the hatchlings were still alive, Talrix said. In a shielded section of the ship, our sensors did not penetrate deep enough. We declared them dead and performed the funeral rites. We mourned them, and then we left. Cassith's voice broke. We abandoned them, Talrix. We left our young to die in the cold of space. But these humans, these strangers, they did not. Talrix looked through the window at Kyrth, now sleeping peacefully in her nest with Dr. Cole sitting nearby. What are we supposed to do with this knowledge, Elder? I do not know, Cassith admitted. I have consulted the War Council. Some demand we take the young and leave immediately. Others suggest we offer payment, a formal alliance. But Talrix, I ask you, what do the hatchlings need? That was the question that had been eating at him all day. He watched as Lucas finished his story and carefully moved away from Spark's nest. The hatchling made a small sound of protest, already half asleep. Lucas patted his head gently and whispered something that made Spark settle back down. I think, Talrix said slowly, they need more than we can give them right now. Cassith's eyes widened. Explain. Our way of raising young is practical. It makes them strong, yes, able to survive. But these humans, they offer something different. Individual attention, patience. They treat each hatchling as precious, as unique. He paused. When did we stop doing that? When we became warriors, Cassith said quietly. When we decided strength was more important than tenderness. When we convinced ourselves that love made us weak. But look at them, Talrix gestured at the window. The humans are not warriors, they are soft, fragile, yet they fought to keep our young alive. They studied our biology, they adapted their medicines. They sat up all night monitoring fevers. They gave everything, asked for nothing. Is that weakness? No, Cassith said. That is strength of a different kind, strength we have forgotten. Amy had finished settling all the hatchlings. Now she moved to a small bed set up between several nests. She did not change clothes or leave. She simply lay down there, within reach of any hatchling who might wake and need comfort. Lucas did the same on the other side of the habitat. Within minutes, the soft sound of snoring came from his direction. Some of the hatchlings chittered in their sleep. One was twitching, probably dreaming, but none of them cried out. None of them seemed afraid. Elder, I need more time here, Talrix said. There are things I need to understand, about what the humans have done, about what we have failed to do. Take what time you need, Cassith said. But Talrix, the council will want answers. What do we offer these humans? What price do they demand for saving our young? They demand nothing, Talrix said. That is what troubles me most. They saved our children simply because they could, because it was right. How do we repay a debt like that? After Cassith disconnected, Talrix remained at the window. Dr. Cole had stayed with him, quiet and patient. You must think us barbaric, she said finally. The way we care for them, the Sarthek probably have more efficient methods. Efficient, yes, Talrix agreed. But I watched my daughter cling to you. She called you Becca. She wanted both of us, not just me. In 6 months, you became as important to her as her own blood family. Does that anger you? Talrix considered. I thought it would. I came here ready to tear this building apart, to take my daughter and never look back. But now, he shook his head. Now I wonder what kind of parent I would be if I took her from the only stability she has known since her world ended. Dr. Cole moved to stand beside him. She loves you, that is obvious. She knew you immediately, but she also loves us. Children have big hearts, Commander, big enough for many families. The Sarthek do not share our young. Maybe it is time to start. They stood together in silence, watching the hatchlings sleep, watching Amy and Lucas keep their vigil, and Talrix felt the last of his anger drain away, replaced by something much more complicated. Gratitude, shame, wonder, and fear. Fear of what came next. Fear of the choice he could not avoid forever. Fear that no matter what he decided, someone would be hurt. Below, Kyrth shifted in her sleep and made a small, happy sound. She was dreaming, Talrix realized. And for the first time in 6 months, he hoped they were good dreams. The meeting room was too small for what it needed to contain. On one side sat the Sarthek delegation, 5 warriors who had come breathing fire for revenge. On the other side sat the humans, scientists and caretakers who had spent 6 months learning to love alien children. General Vornak spoke first, his voice hard as stone. This has gone on long enough. The young are ours. We will take them back to Sarthek space where they belong. Patricia Wells, a human specialist in child trauma, shook her head. With all respect, General, it is not that simple. These hatchlings have been through severe trauma. They watched their parents die. They nearly died themselves. Then they were rescued by an alien species and spent 6 months adapting to a completely new environment. Which is exactly why they need to return home, Vornak insisted. To familiar surroundings, to their own people. Your own people abandoned them, Amy said quietly. Every head turned toward her. She sat at the end of the table, looking small but determined. You thought they were dead, so you left. We thought they were alive, so we stayed. For 6 months we have been their people. Vornak's scales darkened with anger. You dare suggest you are better parents than Sarthek? I suggest we are the parents they have right now, Amy replied. And ripping them away from us without preparation could damage them psychologically. Talrix raised a hand, stopping Vornak before he could respond. What are you proposing, Ms. Foster? Patricia pulled out her tablet. I have been conducting psychological evaluations on all 14 hatchlings. They are healthy, both physically and mentally, but they have formed strong attachment bonds with their human caretakers. Those bonds are real and important to their development. They are Sarthek, Vornak growled. They belong with Sarthek. Your soft human ways will make them weak. Our young must be strong. They must be warriors. Dr. Cole leaned forward. They are 3 years old. They are not warriors. They are children. Which is why they must learn our ways now, before your weakness infects them further. Is love weakness? Lucas spoke up from the corner. Is caring for someone weakness? Is making sure they feel safe weakness? Because if that is what you think, then maybe your way is not as strong as you believe. Vornak stood up, towering over the humans. You know nothing of our ways. For thousands of years, we have raised our young to survive, to fight, to conquer. Your species has barely left your own world. Do not lecture us on child-rearing." "Then explain something to me," Talrix said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Explain why our young cling to these humans, why Kyrth calls Dr. Cole Becca and sleeps peacefully in her arms, why little Brass will not let go of Amy, why Spark waits every night for Lucas to read him stories he cannot even understand." Vornek sat back down slowly. "They are confused. Once they return home, they will remember their true nature." "Will they?" Shessa asked. She had been quiet until now. "Or will they remember that when they needed someone, it was humans who answered, that when they cried in the night, it was human arms that held them?" The room fell silent. Through the window, they could see into the habitat where the hatchlings played. Kyrth and two others were chasing a ball while Amy supervised. Their chirps of joy could be heard even through the glass. Patricia cleared her throat. "I believe the hatchlings themselves should have a voice in this decision. They are young, but they are not without understanding. We have been teaching them both human and Sarthic languages. They can express their needs." "You want children to decide their own fate?" Vornek asked incredulously. "I want us to listen to what they want," Patricia said. "Is that so unreasonable?" Talrix looked at Dr. Cole. "What do you think they will say?" "I think," Dr. Cole said carefully, "they will want both. They love you, that is clear. Kyrth's face when she saw you, Talrix, that was pure joy, but they also love us. And children should not have to choose between the people they love." "So what are you suggesting?" Shessa asked. "We share them." "Yes," Patricia said simply. "A transition period. Sarthic parents and human caretakers working together. Let the hatchlings maintain their bonds with us while rebuilding bonds with you. Gradual reintegration instead of sudden separation." Vornek made a disgusted sound. "This is foolishness. We do not need humans to teach us how to raise our own young." "Maybe not," Amy said, "but maybe we need each other. We learned your biology, your dietary needs, your environmental requirements. We learned it all from scratch because we had to. Now you could learn from us, and we could learn from you for their sake." The door opened and Kyrth walked in, holding Dr. Cole's hand. She looked around at all the adults with wide eyes. "Papa," she said, looking at Talrix, "why everyone angry?" Talrix felt his throat tighten. "We are not angry, little flame. We are just talking." Kyrth walked over to him and he picked her up. She settled against his chest, then looked back at Dr. Cole. "Becca, come too." "I am right here, sweetling," Dr. Cole said. Kyrth held out her small clawed hand to the human. Dr. Cole took it, and there they were, connected. Sarthic father, human caretaker, and the child who loved them both. "I stay with Papa?" Kyrth asked. "And Becca and Mimi," she looked around for Amy, "all together." Out of the mouths of hatchlings, Talrix thought. She had just expressed what none of them could figure out. She wanted all of them, her families plural. "Would you like that?" Talrix asked gently, "if we all stayed together for a while?" Kyrth nodded enthusiastically. Spark too, and Brass, everyone together. Patricia smiled. "I believe we have our answer." Vornek stood up. "This is unprecedented, unorthodox, against all Sarthic tradition." "Tradition did not save them," Talrix said, still holding Kyrth. "Tradition declared them dead and moved on. These humans broke every rule to keep them alive. Maybe it is time we learned from that." Shessa nodded slowly. "The Elder will need to approve this, but I will recommend it. A joint facility, Sarthic and humans working together." "For how long?" Vornek demanded. "As long as they need," Dr. Cole said. "This is not about us or our pride, it is about them, their healing, their happiness." Kyrth yawned and tucked her head under Talrix's chin. "Tired, Papa." "Then let us get you to your nest, little flame." "Becca, come." Dr. Cole smiled. "Of course, I will tuck you in just like always." As they left the meeting room, Kyrth held between them, Talrix realized something. He had come here ready for war, ready to take his daughter and leave. But now, walking beside this human woman who loved Kyrth as much as he did, he understood that some battles were not meant to be won. They were meant to be surrendered. Sometimes, the strongest thing you could do was admit you needed help, was accept that love came in many forms, was let your child have more family rather than less. Behind them, Vornak watched them go. Finally, he spoke to Shessa. This will change everything. Yes, Shessa agreed. But maybe that is what we need. Change, growth, a new way forward. Outside, more Sarthic parents were arriving. And more hatchlings were running to greet them, then running back to their human caretakers, wanting everyone together, wanting all their families in one place. The sanctuary was getting crowded. They would need more space, more resources, more cooperation. But as Talrix watched Kyrth fall asleep between him and Dr. Cole, he thought maybe that was okay. Maybe some things were worth the trouble. 6 months had passed since the Sarthic fleet arrived breathing fire for revenge. Now, Talrix stood in the expanded sanctuary facility watching a very different kind of fire. This one came from joy. The new building was 3 times the size of the original, built jointly by human and Sarthic engineers. Half followed human design principles with soft edges and comfortable spaces. Half followed Sarthic architecture with strong lines and practical layouts. Somehow, it worked. The two styles blended into something unique, something new. "Papa, Papa, watch," Kyrth called out in perfect Sarthic. Then switching to equally perfect English, "Watch me, Becca." She climbed up the new structure designed by both species working together. It had the safety features humans insisted on and the challenge levels Sarthic demanded. Kyrth reached the top and spread her small wings, still too young for flight but already practicing. Both Talrix and Dr. Cole held their breath. Kyrth jumped, glided for 3 seconds and landed safely in the sand pit below. She popped up immediately, scales shining with pride. "Did you see? Did you see?" "We saw," Talrix and Dr. Cole said at the same time, then looked at each other and laughed. This had become normal now. Shared parenting, shared pride, shared worry. Talrix had stayed on Earth for 3 months before finally returning to Sarthic space, but he came back every few weeks, and when he was gone, he video-called every single day to see Kyrth. Other Sarthic parents had done the same. Some stayed permanently, like Shessa, who had taken a formal position as liaison between species. Others visited regularly, but all of them had learned something important from the humans. Being present mattered more than being strong. Amy walked past carrying little Brass, now much bigger and more confident. "Feeding time in 10 minutes, she called out in Sarthic. Her accent had improved dramatically. Beside her, a Sarthic mother named Tessith carried her own young. "I will help prepare the food," she replied in careful English. The two species had learned from each other. Humans taught patience and individual attention. Sarthic taught discipline and cultural pride. The hatchlings were growing up bilingual, bicultural, and thriving. Lucas sat in a corner reading to Spark, but now Spark's uncle Raltek listened too, learning the human custom of bedtime stories. Next week, Raltek would teach Lucas traditional Sarthic hunting songs. Give and take, share and learn. Elder Cassith's image appeared on the communication screen mounted on the wall. She visited virtually every week now, watching the progress with keen interest. "Commander Talrix, the Council has asked me to make a formal announcement," she said. "We would like to establish a permanent cultural exchange program. Sarthic young will spend time on Earth learning from humans. Human young will visit Sarthic worlds learning from us. This sanctuary will become the first of many joint facilities." Dr. Cole joined Talrix at the screen. "The human government has approved this as well. We are calling it the Sanctuary Initiative." "A good name," Cassith said. "The hatchlings who survived have become something special. They are bridges between our peoples. living proof that cooperation serves us better than isolation. A young Sarthak couple entered the facility, carrying a bundle carefully. Talrix recognized them. They had lost their hatchling on the destroyed transport but had recently laid new eggs. One had just hatched. The mother, Siren, approached Amy nervously. "Ms. Foster, we have heard what you did for the rescued young. We wondered if you might teach us some of your methods." Amy's face lit up. "Of course. Oh, let me see the little one." Siren carefully revealed the newborn hatchling, barely a day old. Amy made soft cooing sounds, and the hatchling's eyes tracked her immediately. "May I?" Amy asked. Siren hesitated only a moment before passing her child to the human. Amy held the newborn with practiced confidence, supporting its head, keeping it warm against her body. The hatchling settled immediately, making small content sounds. "See how she responds to gentle touch," Amy showed Siren. "Newborns need physical contact. It helps their neural development." Siren watched carefully, then tentatively stroked her own child's scales the way Amy demonstrated. The hatchling chirped happily. Tears formed in Siren's eyes. "We were taught to be strong with them from birth, to hold them only for feeding, but this feels right." "Strength and gentleness are not opposites," Amy said softly. "You can be both." Talrix felt his chest swell with something he could not quite name. Pride, hope, perhaps both. The Sarthak had come here expecting to find enemies. Instead, they found teachers, friends, family. Dr. Park approached with his medical tablet. "Commander, I wanted to show you Kyrth's latest growth charts. She is developing beautifully, ahead of typical Sarthak development in several areas." Talrix reviewed the data, the language skills especially. "Bilingual children often show enhanced cognitive development," Dr. Park explained. "But it is more than that. She is happy, secure. That makes all the difference." A commotion near the entrance drew their attention. Patricia Wells was bringing in a group of human children, part of the youth education program. Young humans came to the sanctuary regularly now to learn about Sarthak culture and to interact with the hatchlings. "Everyone please remember," Patricia instructed the human children. "Gentle touches, ask before petting, and if a hatchling says no, we respect that." The children nodded seriously. They had been through weeks of preparation for this, learning basic Sarthak phrases, understanding cultural differences, being taught to see the hatchlings not as exotic creatures but as people. Kyrth spotted the human children and rushed over. "I show you the climbing wall," she announced proudly in English. Two human girls followed her eagerly while their Sarthak teacher supervised. The sight of human children and Sarthak hatchlings playing together had become commonplace. Natural, right? "This is what the future looks like," Shessa said, joining Talrix. "Not just cooperation between adults but friendship between young ones. They will grow up knowing each other, understanding each other." Talrix nodded. "I never imagined this when we first arrived. I was so angry, so certain we would find cruelty or exploitation." "And instead you found love," Dr. Cole said. "The most human thing we could offer." "Not just human," Talrix corrected gently. "We Sarthak love our young too, we always have. We just forgot how to show it. You reminded us." The afternoon sun streamed through the specially designed windows, warming the basking rocks where several hatchlings rested together. Some slept curled against human caretakers. Others rested beside Sarthak parents. A few were in mixed groups, completely comfortable with both species. Lucas started playing soft music on a human instrument called a guitar. Raltek joined in with a traditional Sarthak drum. The two rhythms should not have worked together, but they did. They created something new, something beautiful. Amy began singing a lullaby, one she had written herself that mixed human and Sarthak words. Other voices joined in. Human and Sarthak together. The hatchlings swayed to the music, and even some of the adults found themselves moving with the rhythm. Kyrth climbed into Taurix's lap and leaned back against Dr. Cole at the same time, making them both her support. "Love you, Papa," she said. Then, "Love you, Becca." "We love you too, little flame," Taurix replied, his voice thick. "So much," Dr. Cole added, stroking Kyrth's scales. Elder Cassith's image on the screen watched the scene with obvious emotion. "Commander Taurix, I believe I owe the humans an apology. We came to them with suspicion and demands. They met us with open hands and open hearts. That takes a courage we did not recognize at first." "They taught us a new definition of strength," Taurix agreed. "One that includes vulnerability, one that admits when we need help, one that chooses love over pride." The music continued. The hatchlings played. Human and Sarthek worked side by side, and Taurix realized that this, right here, was everything he had been fighting for his entire life. Not conquest, not domination, not even revenge. Just this, family, in all its complicated, beautiful, cross-species glory. They had come breathing fire for revenge and found their young dreaming in human arms. But more than that, they had found something they did not know they were missing. A new way forward, a better way, together. Kyrth yawned and closed her eyes, safe between her two families. Around the sanctuary, other hatchlings did the same. The day was ending peacefully. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, new growth. But for now, everyone rested. Taurix looked at Dr. Cole over Kyrth's sleeping form and smiled. "Thank you," he said simply, "for everything." Dr. Cole smiled back. "Thank you for trusting us, for staying, for building this with us." "We built it together," Taurix corrected. "That is what family does." And as the sun set over the sanctuary, casting long shadows across the place where two species learned to share their children and their futures, there was peace. Hard won, unexpected, perfect.